Right. So you were teaching dance for George Faison?
No, I became one of his principal dancers.
Right. No, I know. I remember seeing you.
Yeah, I became a principal dancer in his company, and we were living at the Y, and I knew I needed to go to New York. If I was going to make it, I needed to try.
Right.
And I wasn't afraid, so I did.
Right.
Packed up a van and went to New York and went to work.
I remember you also continued to act while you were in New York. And you worked with Woody King. I remember seeing you in a play. I don't remember the name of the play, but it was in Alphabet Land. Woody had this place around 3rd Street and Avenue A or Avenue B, and you were in this play, which was wonderful. I mean, he was such a supporter and still is doing that kind of work. But tell me about that experience.
Well, it was great being in New York because there were so many places. There were places in Brooklyn where the honey if it rained, it was coming in on the stage, but we were there working with Charnel Perry, Woody King's New Federal Theater.
Right.
I did Anna Lee Castor with him.
Right.
I did a play about Louis Armstrong with him called Louis, where I played the wife. I remember seeing Denzel Washington as Malcolm X.
That's right.
In a 2-character play with I can't say his name. I can't say it. Felicia was playing Zora Neale Hurston.
That's right.
She was doing one woman play, one character play, one act play, and he was doing Malcolm X.
Right.
We knew then he was Malcolm X. We knew it then. So Woody King was a birthplace for all of us to hone our skill as actors. I even did choreography for Woody. I choreographed a piece for him. It was great because you were surrounded, you look up and there would be Ruby Dee and Audrey.
Right.
Ruby and Audrey were there.
Speaking.
Cash.
Right, Rosalind Cash. I do remember too. Speaking of Ossie Davis, though, you were in Pearly, and I think that was 1971. So that must have been when you first arrived. How in the world did you land that?
Well, I went up to New York with a tambourine and I auditioned, singing a song a cappella, and I danced with them. And I had met Louis Johnson, who invited me to come to this audition. And I got to go on Broadway for like maybe a week, and then we went on the road. So I was really being hired to go on a national company, but I got to see Melba Moore. She was amazing. Oh my God, she was amazing. And I was on the road with Robert Guillaume. He was playing Pearly.
Mm-hmm.
So that was coming out of leaving Howard, working with George Faison, and then I didn't have any money. I mean, when we got our 3rd eviction notice, we had to go get a job. So I went on the road with Pearly. That was what I did.
Right. And so you were around New York for some years, and then I remember that you left and you headed to L.A. And I believe Otis Salid went with you. What were you going to do?
So I left New York to go do Fame. Fame was a television series that we shot in New York. I had done a movie, and I was actually a senior student, but I looked like a teacher. But by the time they cut me out of it, it was a play. I was glad to be there. I had one line, so there's no small parts. But when they decided to do a television show, they wanted the teacher to be younger. So they asked me if I would play the part. By then, I had been Anita in West Side Story.
Right.
And I said, I would do it if I can be responsible for the choreography. They go, oh, you didn't have that. That was the biggest part of my life. So I took the role of Lydia Grant, had an audition, hired young people from New York and in L.A., and I brought Otis out after I had started the show, and I found myself having my first
Debbie, what was it like for you, though, to work in these Broadway shows or to work in film in Hollywood, and particularly as an African-American woman? Was there a struggle, or was it easy? Were you just having a great old time, and this all came easy to you?
Well, nothing was ever easy, but I always have enjoyed a challenge. And when I took on Fame, for example, there was nothing, no one to teach me how to do it. I had by then gone to Mexico, had studied at the Bellas Artes, knew the deer dance, had met Alvin Ailey, Revelations, had done Broadway, West Side Story. I had a real encyclopedic vocabulary of dance and dance performances and musical theater. And so when I took on Fame, there was no one to tell me how to do it. I had to figure it out myself. So I would have 2 days to choreograph the numbers and get them ready. And that meant I worked every day, every weekend, every Saturday. The kids, they would be at my house rehearsing. You know, we'd be at the lot on Saturday, Sunday. And I remember one day Bill Spencer, who was Dr. P, he said, "Come here, kid." At first he wasn't too happy with me at first because I had too many ideas. But then he came to love me and these wonderful ideas, and he said, "Come here, kid, I want to show you something." So he took me back in the archives of the MGM, and I sure hope they have some of that. You know, they just toss things out, but he showed me the manuscripts that they worked from when they did the musical films. He had been the A operator on those big MGM musicals, and he showed me how they would. And I had done this on my own. I decided I'd write out the song, I'd do the camera shot, I'd do the action, and I did it for every number all the way down. So my notes, so people would understand. And he showed me that they did it back in the day, just like that, but they did it for every 4 counts. I was doing 8 counts and 16 counts. They did every 4 counts, but it was interesting. He wanted me to see that I had come on my own to an understanding of something that had been the way they did it back in the day. That was so nice to see.
Where does all of your confidence come from, though? I mean, that you would have the gall to take on something like this that you never done before. It's hard to have that kind of confidence going into a situation that you don't know about or haven't worked in before. Where does that come from? Is it just in the family's DNA? I know your mother's a Pulitzer Prize nominee for her poetry. Your sister, of course, is Phylicia Rashad,